Good evening. We're live and welcome to this week's episode of the Adventures of the Redbane Guild.
Redbaniacs.
They're the Redbaniacs. Yes. So last time you went through a rather unique experience with Gerundian, traveling up the mountain where he ostensibly set out with you, disappeared from view, and gave you all some pretty unique times in your dreams, testing you. And upon finally arriving at the top of the mountain through the gates, you found that Gerundine himself was in fact the cliff watcher for whom you had been searching. And enough of you passed the test that he allowed you freely down into the Aertaure, the land of the Firbolg, the sacred forest.
Yeah.
And you had just entered. It took you 1 day to get down. It was an easy journey down into the forest. And you were, let me just briefly describe that forest again for you, and this landscape from above. It's this immense circle of immense circle, this forest that is nothing like the snow and frost and ice-covered landscape outside of it. It is a bowl, a veil within this mountain, this mountainous Isle of Giants. Seemingly thermal, perhaps. You really don't know what causes it to be like this. But you do see mists gently rising above some of the trees, the dense redwoods. You'd see some sparkling lakes and ponds out there. There are some hills and little streams. And in fact, there is on the from the southeastern side to the north of this, a river is sourced from the mountains, from the high mountains, and carves its way down into the valley and snakes around through it. You can see some of it. You could see some of it from up on high, and it's far across. You can barely see all the way across this. But on the far northern edge, it looks as if there's like a depression in the mountains where like that solid wall of mountain kind of goes down a little bit, and you kind of can surmise that may be where the river exits and flows out of the valley, and that's seemingly the only break in the mountains in this wall. And let me think, is there anything else? Yeah, that river, the source of it, you can sort of see on that southeast side. There's several waterfalls and series of falls over cliffs and rocks, and that seems to be the source of this river that flows down and carves through the valley. So you had just entered, and very shortly after arriving within the Aertaure, you encountered someone. There was a Firbolg not far down the path, where Sparrow, who attracted sparrow mice, greeted you warmly in Elvish, and then in Althonic, and told you could call him Thicket.
Thicket? But they do not traditionally go by names.
You will see what they traditionally go by very soon. Therefore, here we are. So, Thicket, he looks at you all and motions for you to follow on into the forest.
Yeah, we will follow you. Thicket, if it's all right to call you that. Where exactly are we going?
Well, I'll show you soon. We're not far. We're not far. I'll show you. I've got somewhere that I've got to take you. I don't remember if this is the voice that I did for him last time. I don't remember, but this is what we're sticking with.
It sounds like it, yeah.
I'll show you. It's not far.
Okay. Are there many Firbolgs there?
Should I? We'll find. You'll find out as soon as we arrive. It won't be far. It's not far. It's not far. And he turns and just starts walking into the forest, and you see as he turns a sparrowhawk or a sparrow mouse light on his shoulder and crawl down to flit down to his arm, and he kind of jovially admires it. And you see now there's a big old longbow across his back and a quiver of arrows as well.
Mm.
And you head into the forest, following Thicket. And this land into which you enter is such a far cry from the harsh wilds of the mountains that it almost seems like another world here. The wild winds have given way to gentle breezes winding through the trees. The trees here are mostly redwoods, beautiful and lush. There are bushes and ferns and thickets around, and flowers aplenty. There are just flowers in this land. Some of them sprouting from the moss-covered boles of trees from under rocks and such. And from there's a creeping vine of greenish blue tint that seems to climb on many of the rocks and trees about, and those all as well sprout blue flowers. And you see that this place teems with life. There are huge dragonflies buzzing hither and thither. There are bees at work on the wildflowers, and the sounds of frogs come from the small streams and ponds that dot the land. And you follow him on into there, and he just kind of makes his way. He's got his staff there, his gnarly wood staff, and he kind of like looks back at you guys, and then he said, I think I forgot to ask your names. What are your names? I can't remember if I asked your names. You all have names in Elvish or Althonic names. You Fawn. What's your name?
Yes. Well, my name is Bew.
Bew.
My companions here are Walrus, and then the little one is named Mirwin.
Hello, Walrus and Mirwin, and you must be. Oh, I'm Bracken Leatrus.
Yeah.
Well, it is lovely. It is lovely to meet you all, and I certainly hope that you find our home here to be a nice place, delightful to you.
Yeah.
It is very nice.
Oh, thank you. I certainly love it. I love it. I like the trees. I like the trees so much. You walk for only an hour or so before Thicket stops beside the trunk of a huge gnarled redwood, looks up, and emits an unexpected nasal tone, kind of like it's strange, almost musical in nature. He looks expectantly up at the tree, and a moment later you see another face appear, kind of parting some branches and looking through, and you see you catch a glimpse of this fellow. This face you see, another Furbolg. From this distance, he looks to have his skin is a bit more almost a little bit more of a purplish gray, whereas Thicket's is more bluish gray. But he's got the same features: those ears, the slightly bovine nose, but the longer hair and the tasseled braids. And that's what you. Hey, no.
Purple Jesus.
You see a surprised expression on his face, looking down to see you four, and then a searching frown, kind of examining this strange party that is Yeah, that has appeared at the foot of his tree, and then something of a grimace. He swings down from branch to branch, then until he reaches a kind of protuberance, a knot, and just leaps down the last 10 feet to you. And so you see this guy. He's approaching 9.5 feet tall. He carries with him on his back a lighter recurve bow and a couple of daggers. You see, around he wears more loose robes with a thick leather belt. Whereas 2 daggers, you see one on each side, and he wears boots much like Thicket's and cloth trousers, and he's got a bracer on each forearm, which leads to a glove. And on his left forearm bracer, there's a metal, decorative metal inlay that winds about it, and it's in the shape of a vine with leaves. It's quite pretty. And the Thicket says, "Oh, this is Kenwick, his elvish name, of course. He's my scouting partner. We're scouting."
Yeah,
Kenwick rolls his eyes. Just exchanges glances with Thicket, and Thicket's like, I found them, not just back there, not far. And Kenwick addresses all of you with a sneaky eye. How did you find us?
Well, the giants brought us here. We were searching for someone wise and that could help us in our journeys, and they recommended that we come here.
I saw them come down the mountain myself. I can vouch for them. Then they're not. No way, definitely not. Look at them.
What are we not?
You're not. Thicket. Sometimes. He takes a pause for a moment, like looks back at Thicket. We've had a bit of trouble recently down here.
Really?
I don't know how much you know about lands, but from the far north, you see. Thicket, we shouldn't. They're complete strangers. We shouldn't be saying this to complete strangers. They're fine. I saw them come down from the mountain themselves. The cliff. Did the cliff watcher send you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kenwick's ears perk up a little bit. He says, "Tell me of him then. What is his name?"
Very long and it's hard to pronounce.
Mirwin knows.
But well, the one name he went by was Harundian.
Garundian.
Garundian.
Gave us that name for little folk, but he had a much longer name that I have a feeling Mirwin knows.
Yes, I know.
Indeed, I know it as well. So, tell me then, how did he test you?
Oh, he gave us all nightmares. Left us in a blizzard and then gave us nightmares.
Classic Garundian.
Sounds like a great
Is
guy.
that classic of him? It was challenging. Well, it was very challenging, I'd say.
Any who come down from the mountain must deal with Garundian, and he has his methods. We've spoken many times over the centuries. The only others that we have dealings with, truly, lest he allow the little folk down here, which is rare, we deal with the snow elves of the north. No,
Snow
they
elves.
are, and I suppose since Thicket has brought us into this situation, I will simply tell you that generally we have good terms with the Snow Elves. They live in the high alpine regions.
Hmm.
But recently, within just the last few days, well, some of them have made an incursion into our lands.
Really? What are
And
they aiming at coming into your lands?
we do not know.
Interesting.
We suspect they live in various tribes up there. We suspect that it is a splinter group of some sort of faction. It would be the only explanation. We've been on good terms. We trade with these elves, but nothing can explain this. It really is a complete mystery. We don't know why they would do this to us. We didn't do anything to them. We've only ever been really nice, really, really nice.
Yeah, sure.
We don't know why. They've already killed 2 of our kin in the last week.
Really?
So it's less of just trying to enter into nicer lands and more an all-out attack.
Well, that's the strange thing because we can't. They've only killed a couple of scouts. They haven't attacked a village or anything like that. We have a few a few villages and one larger city, but they have not attacked. They've not made any statements. They've not approached us, nor sent word or demands or anything, and it's very disconcerting to us all.
And are you sure that it is the Snow Elves and not someone
Oh,
else?
Good, Varith, I was about to ask.
it is. We killed one of them.
Hmm.
Our scout. One of our scouts who died took one with him. We were able to bring it back, and we ascertained that it was indeed one of our our friends from the north. But we know not why. We don't know why. We have no explanation.
And there's never been any trouble between you two before?
Nay, not for millennia.
Millennia.
Hmm.
What happened millennia ago? Were there
Oh.
contentions then?
Back, I should say centuries. Back before and within the time of the breaking, and before then, sometimes clans got into disputes. The world was not as well. It was a bit more of a wild place than it is up here nowadays. And that may seem strange for you have just come from quite a wild place, I imagine. But
Yeah.
we coexist with the giants and the snow elves. We trade with both and have had no quarrel for centuries.
Interesting.
And in fact, I'm not sure any of us living can remember the last time that there was bad blood between either of our peoples.
That brings up another question. Giants, they live a long time. How long do Firbolgs live?
Oh, we have not the days of giants, but for us, who's that? Who's the oldest? Who's the oldest one in Kerfal now? I think it says. Oh, she must be nearing 400. That's very old. Usually we don't make it past like 320 or so. So sad. But that is unusually long lived. She's very weak.
Hmm.
Dwarves
Yeah.
live about that long as well. This one here is 150, I think. Is that right? Or did I get that completely wrong?
200.
200.
You're
200.
Yeah.
Older than both of us then. So,
Yeah,
well,
she's old and
why
wise.
has Garundian left? Why has Garundian let you into this land? What are you here for?
Well,
We're seeking someone
hoping
to translate.
that exactly.
We're seeking to translate a book that is very, very old, and language that is no longer used. We hope that we might find someone here that would help us.
Ah, yes, there was
Brecken kind of nods along with you. He says it is urgent. If we can make, I don't presume to make demands on your time, but especially since I know you're going through difficult circumstances right now, but it is a bit urgent, at least for us. And Gemmick looks to Thicket and says, they'll need to go to Yanmar.
Yanmar.
And Thicket nods. Yanmar, it's our city, our one of our largest. That's one of our largest settlements. And there's someone there. There's someone there. You will need to see Jofira. She is the one. If any can help, she's the one whom you seek. She's the keeper of our law and our books and such, our records. She speaks many tongues and is wise in the way of the language of the mortal beings.
Yeah,
And
then that is the one that we are looking for. Absolutely.
what was her name again?
Jofira.
Jofira.
And Thicket goes, Jophira.
I
Thank
had
you.
that
Thank
half
you.
right. I had it exactly halfway down the middle right. The first
Jofira.
half I didn't have
Treated
right.
you.
Yeah. It's true. I was calculating in my head how I would spell that, and it was the last bit that I was correct on.
We need to take them. It's urgent. And Kenwick says, Thicket, we are not taking anyone until we finished our patrol.
Can you
I know.
point us in the right direction then?
Well, we're out here. See, we were assigned to search and patrol this area and see if we could find anything related to invaders. And well, so far we found nothing today. But we need to finish our rounds, I suppose, and then we'll report back. We'll report back to Yanmar after that. Yes, that would be the wise course of action. We need.
You did find us.
Well, you at least were not the target of our arrows.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks.
Well, thanks for not being belligerents then.
You're welcome.
I see no option other than to let you accompany us on our patrol then. You look as if you're capable folk and you braved the mountain, so if you indeed can be of some assistance, all the better.
Yeah, okay.
Very well.
Sure.
How long will your patrol take?
At least one encounter.
We'll see.
Very well.
I can make no promises. So you follow them, and they just Kenwick starts heading one way, and then Thicket looks back at you guys and kind of motions you to follow. Like,
Yeah.
we got to do what we got to do.
Okay.
So you continue for a little while. through this beautiful mystical landscape. You hear the sounds of birds whistling through the air, and you continue to walk on for a couple of hours, and it's passing midday when roll perception checks.
12.
5. Not
Sorry,
very
I wasn't
perceptive
paying
today.
attention. 6.
None of you really observe anything in the environment going on. So the land that you're coming into now is a little bit more thick with underbrush. And you can, it gets a little muddy in areas, so you kind of avoid the wetter lands. However, Kenwick holds up a hand ahead of you, motioning for you to stop, and he crouches down, kind of searches a little bit further on, and about 20 feet away, he separates a couple of ferns and looks back and motions you guys forward. And he says, "We've got one. Dead." And what you see as you approach, is the body of a strange, uncommon-looking elf, more like the central, more like the central figure in this picture. These are the snow elves. So this, you see a young woman, a young female elf, with that kind of hair, and Kenwick flips her body over, and you see that she is marred with many claw marks and bite marks, and part of her has been just eviscerated. And Kenwick shakes his head. "Would you look at that?"
This is a snow elf?
Aye, one of those from the north. They inhabit the high alpine portions of the northern mountains of this island. But this is one of the invaders. I mean,
Interesting.
but look, she carries no weapon.
I would like to investigate the body. Primarily, I'd like to do a medical check, but on the sly, I would like to loot. So
Okay.
kind of stealthily take anything of interest off of the body.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead and first make a medical check. Or yeah. Medicine check. 6. It's so from her wounds, you can definitely tell that she was killed swiftly by a large beast of some sort. You can't tell what killed her, but it looked to have had claws and teeth. And then roll sleight of hand.
Better at that. No, I'm about the same at that. 18.
You are able to sneak just a quick grab inside of a pocket that you find in her sort of leather that she was wearing, and out you find a marble, and it's It's clear glass with gold inside, and to you it looks like real gold.
Okay, I'll pocket that.
Yep, you pocket that. Anybody else looking at the body
Yes.
or looking around the body? I mean, sorry.
Yes. So is she? Is she dressed in like? Does it look like she was dressed for a long journey, or for combat, or?
So basically, she's got a which is it's kind of torn and muddied now, but she's got a cloak about her shoulders, like a half cloak kind of thing, and it's and she's got she's got like a leather thing with buckles, looks to serve as a light armor. Um, she has just a simple like rope belt holding up trousers and boots, and one of her legs has a big slash on it that continues to slash into the boot.
Is there any like knife holsters anywhere that a dagger, sword, short sword would be normally kept? Any markings on the cloak where a sling of arrows might, or a quiver of arrows might have rubbed?
Roll
Anything like that?
investigation.
6.
You can't. You don't. You examine. You look at the belt, at the back, at the sides, and you really see pretty much. There's no weapon holsters. There's no sign that there was a case to carry a bow or a scabbard or anything. The belt is not a sword belt. It's just rope. And so, no, it doesn't look like she was armed.
Hmm.
Can we look around and see if there's anything
Clues?
any clues, anything that fell or
Sure. Roll
something?
investigation. Roll investigation. And as you're doing this, Thicket and Kenwick are as well, kind of combing the area, looking through the grass, examining the body, and they're whispering amongst themselves a little bit.
Got a 10.
I rolled at 17.
Good job, James.
Orith, you find on the ground, next to her hands, and kind of on her hands, there's some like moss underneath her nails, which she like she's clawing. And as you look with that roll, you look at her other hand, and again there is moss on her fingers and beneath her fingernails.
Mm.
And Bew, I'd like you to make an insight check right here.
Insight. 7.
You look at you bend down to look at what Warth's looking at, but you really can't make out why there would be moss underneath her fingernails.
Moss
And
monster?
what did you roll, Mirwin?
10.
10. You don't find much. Not much that you can see.
I want to point out the moss to the furbolgs.
Kenwick comes over, says, you see it too.
Yes. Is that significant?
that-
What is?
Do you know what it means?
Not in the slightest.
It's so sad because he looks down at the body. He says, look, she must have gotten strayed from a group. He looks at Thicket. One would never attack just a soul. One would never attack a whole group. A sole one though? She must have gotten lost, wandered off from the rest of this raiding party, I guess.
Or chased.
Ah, there's no signs of a chase. Looks like she was wandering. The few footprints I see look aimless. But she was killed, and looks like she struggled. She was killed by a vine siva. Tree wolves. And at this moment, it dawns upon you, Bu, that, oh yeah, that's the color of the moss on that vine seaver that I almost died from.
Yeah. Well, we all should stay well within each other. And I'd like to look for one of those flowers in the area.
Roll a survival.
Oh my gosh. 11. I'm not rolling good today.
You look kind of frantically around the immediate area, and then like get up and like from tree to tree for a little bit, and you see no flowers. None of that particular type.
Are you looking for something, Bu?
Yeah, I am exactly looking for something, and you should be looking for something as well.
Have you seen one of these then before?
I have a very close dealing with these vine seavers. I have had an encounter. Hold on. Ah, here we are.
At the monastery then, right? You told me about that.
Yeah.
And what exactly is a vine seaver?
Oh, well, it is a. Did I not write any of that stuff down? All right, cool. It is a beast that lives in forests like this, in Kilsuin as well. Near the monastery, there was a forest, and part of my right of leaving the monastery was that I had to encounter a vine seaver. They are large, ferocious beasts. Show no fear if we encounter one. Do not draw your weapon. And we are looking for a small flower. I don't quite remember the type, but we are looking for a small lone flower. Can I try to remember exactly the type since I don't have it in my notes?
Yeah, but for the Firbolgs both look quite impressed at your knowledge. But yes, go ahead and roll to remember.
Please be good. It's not. It's plus intelligence up to 5.
You cannot, for the life of you, recall the name of this flower.
We are looking for a flower.
Your
I don't
knowledge
remember
Your knowledge of this is impressive.
Yeah, well,
Where are you from?
when you are crafting yourself, staring down a large beast, you tend to remember those things better than others. I am from Kilsuin.
Oh, so you've faced one before then? You had
Yeah.
survived?
Yeah, survived. Tamed, actually. I tamed one.
So you had a Nira flower?
Yeah. That sounds right. I don't. Yeah. I
What
had
does
a
this flower have to do with the beast?
It is an offering, or maybe it is a sign of peace. Maybe it's their favorite smell. I don't remember, but it is something that we need.
It's a pheromone thing.
It's if we're to tame one.
And Thicket looks in a pouch that he carries on his side, and he pulls one out.
There it is.
Mm.
We need that.
Carry them. We have them. Why not? And
Oh,
puts it back in.
how handy.
And not attack us, but look at this poor girl, lost. And Kenwick has backtracked a little bit, and he says she was lost for a while. She was separated from her people, and I mean, stillness and no and unarmed. It makes no sense. Look at her,
Hmm.
he says, dismayed. He says, "Does this look evil to you?"
Looks
No, it does not look evil to me.
Then
something more is going on that we don't understand yet.
We've come across a lot of things that don't make sense.
huh, you described life quite well, I find.
Mhm.
True.
But
Hey,
still, she may have been part of the incursion, but she's still one of our friends from the north, so it is fitting that we bury her here and show respect to her grave. Have you a spade, Thicket? Oh, of course. Do any of you have a spade? We could help us. We must bury her.
Let
I
me
don't
look
have
in my
anything on me.
backpack.
Kenwick lifts up the body with relative ease. She's a pretty small young woman compared to his 9 foot huge Firbolg frame, and walks over a bit until there's a few feet away from you. There's looks like what's more solid ground in a small clearing, and Thicket heads over and just begins to dig away at the earth with his spade, preparing a grave for this snow elf.
View solemnly watches.
A spade, any of you?
I do not have one.
This will take a little
No,
while.
sorry.
We'll do it in shifts then. It'll take a couple of hours. So Thicket, after a while, hands the spade off to Kenwick, and Kenwick says, "We should each have a turn digging the grave. It is only fitting to show respect." And he hands the spade off to Mirwin and says, "You take a turn,
Okay.
then the rest of you." So you dig for a while, Mirwin. And who do you hand the shovel off to?
Worth.
Of course.
Wareth does his part, and it's a little harder on him. Whew. His arms get a good workout after not very much time at all, and he hands the spade off to Bew.
There you go,
Or,
Pew. Show us how it's done.
Are we all going to be accomplices in a murder trial when we get back? You all have to dig the grave, kind of a thing.
Maybe.
A
We
murder
all go down
trial.
together.
This is only respectful.
I'm sorry. I will dig.
And you finish the grave. And as you climb back out, Thicket takes his spade, puts it back into his pack, and he and Kenwick lower her body into the grave. And Kenwick alone shovels the dirt back in. And he stands over the mound and whispers something in a tongue that you don't understand. And then he looks up and says, "We must go now.
Yeah.
We will report back what we found at Yanma." Come then. That will be the completion of our scouting for today. We have something to report, so we'll head back.
Okay.
We'll get there tomorrow, early morning.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. We're doing a lot of job then.
I'm sorry you had to see that. I did not know I was involving you in something so gruesome.
No, it's fine with us. We honestly are here to learn as well as to help. Our main goal is to get this book translated, but if we can help out in any way, that is fine with us.
Well, we thank you. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
So the rest of the day passes and evening dawns, and Kenwick leads you guys to a little pond. As the twilight begins to dawn on the forest, he says, "We stay here. It's a good place. We're unlikely to be ambushed here. We've passed into the territory of an owl bear, but he will do us no harm."
That sounds rather frightening, to be honest.
An owl bear?
Yes.
You don't actually know what this looks like, but for kicks and giggles.
Can I?
Like the
can
size
I,
of an owl or the size of a bear?
Can I
Yeah.
make a nature check?
It's he says this is his territory, but yeah, he'll stay off. He knows our scent.
Mm.
So you guys kind of set up here by this little pond, and here cattails rise from the water, and tiny bugs glow softly as they pass over the surface. Above, in the trees, there are fey dragons that dance about with their little lights. The song of nocturnal birds floats through the nighttime air. This all and the moonlight all combine to create this otherworldly glow about your campsite, and Thicket begins to start a fire.
I will help Thicket with that fire.
He says, "Oh, thank you, thank you. Ah, what a day, what a day. What a day for us all. Oh, you all have bedrolls and such.
We do.
We do.
Oh, good. Well, then, bed down with us here for the night."
Yes, we will.
Before I go to
I
bed,
have,
I want to look around for this owl bear because Worth is not pleased with that thought of this thing.
Make an investigation roll.
Now, Thicket, I have a question for you while Warith is off.
Oh,
working.
yes.
I prefer to hunt for game, but we ran into someone who got in some trouble for hunting in these sacred forests. Is that allowed at all for us, or would you prefer that we don't hunt for game tonight?
In our forests, we live in harmony with it. But we also take from it. We take from nature, and we also give to nature. What we take, we give back. So,
Right.
if one hunts and kills a deer, one must use all of the deer. One must not waste. And its bones must be buried. That is the only thing. Bones must be given back to nature.
Yeah. That actually sounds like you've got a lot of rules, so I'll just stick with a ration tonight, and then I'll not.
Oh, you could always have some of what we have. And you see then Thicket and Kenwick, after they've unloaded their packs, got their bedrolls and such out, they each remove some sort of dark leather case, from which they begin removing what looks to be raw meat. As you observe, Thicket takes some big chunks of meat, these sizable chunks, and he sets them on a flat stone nearby. He takes a knife, begins to chop the meat neatly into little pieces, well, the biggish pieces, while Kenwick goes to work on some vegetables. He then brings the meat back over, and he and Kenwick take the chunks of meat and vegetables and such, and they they take some long metal skewers, and they start like stacking the meat and the vegetables onto these skewers. They're like a couple feet long at least, these metal skewers, and they've got a handle on the end. And what you see then, and they place it down on a grid, on a kind of a griddle thing that they have placed over the fire.
Nice.
Wow.
I rolled, in total, it was a 20.
Oh, for investigation. You have heard. You hear the. It's a strange guttural roar, but with a almost an almost avian uh, lightness to it. It's a very strange, odd sound, and you hear some footsteps. It's not close to you, but it's around, and it's got presence in its voice.
I'm going to stick close to the fire.
Okay. And they, Kenwick and Thicket make a bunch of these things, and Thicket takes a couple of them after they're like done cooking, and he offers you. He says, "We call this a kebab.
Okay, Bob.
A kebab.
Right?
Would you like?"
I would love to try
I'll
one.
try one.
I
Keep
would,
my mind off this beast that I hear running around out.
I would like to try one as well.
He hands them all to you, to one to each of you, and he says, "There's look, we have elk. That's the elk meat, and look, there are onions. Those things are cloves of garlic, and that see the whitish yellow. Uh, There's like this whitish yellow chunk that looks kind of a little bit melty now, and he says that is Austin cheese. It's from the Giants." And he says, "It's very pungent, but it starts hard as a rock, but then you put it over the fire and it softens into a gooey, and then you just hang of, and there's onions. See, ah, one of my favorites.
Very good.
They are quite good. Thicket makes a good.
Yeah. I
Thicket
can tell
makes a
you
good.
are very passionate about this. I will have some.
Thicket makes a good kebab. I'll give him that.
Kebab. I've never heard of such a thing.
Oh, they're rare. I don't think they have such things where the small folk come from.
Never heard of them.
So you all kind of settle in for the evening, and they seem pretty relaxed. Back upon the bedrolls, they recline, and they ask about your journey, and Kenwick kind of says, "So how did you all end up here together? All these you folk of different types and backgrounds. How strange for you all to have found each other."
Yes, it has been quite a journey.
Tell it to me. We have all night.
Um,
We both enjoy tales quite.
well, Bew and I ended up in the same town and joined the same guild. And some
I'll
interesting
show
events led to.
That's Redbane patch.
The Redbane badge.
Yeah, I'll show them the badge.
Oh,
Patch.
a guild then, like as an adventurers type
Yes.
of guild. So they've sent you out on a mission.
Yes. Well, the original mission was simply to escort Breckenhere's niece to him after her village had been destroyed.
It turned into much more as we found out. So much more. You know, if you had told me, if you told me 2 months ago that I'd be sitting having an evening meal with two Firbolg on the Isle of Giants, I would have slapped you in the face and told you to get sober. Because this just, I'm just grateful that this is alive.
Yes.
Really.
There were strange events going on there as well that we were trying to, still are trying to investigate and solve.
What sort of strange events then? Are you Does this have to do with this translation you need help with?
Yes. It appears that the girl's village was destroyed by people we don't quite understand yet. But they were seeking a great power.
They were powerful themselves.
Yes, they
These
were.
few run-ins that we have had with them, they have not only been powerful warriors, they have also been disgusting magic users.
Hmm. They kind of exchange a glance at that.
Of wicked powers, teleporting and popping out of thin air and projecting of voices.
I see. And such things are quite unnatural to you folk, then?
Yeah, who has heard of that kind of thing? It wasn't until I came off of the island of Kazuin when I started running into magic and the like. Don't like it myself.
And it depends on what it's used for. These people's intentions was clearly to do harm. They destroyed a village looking for a single item.
That is truly disgusting. But
they attacked our guild to find an item and to kill the girl.
Well,
things
I
some will
don't know
not.
what they were going to do with the girl.
The things some will do in pursuit of power is shameful. But the girl she's your niece. Aye. And she's safe, you said. Aye. We are very lucky.
Yeah, she is on this island. Well, on a ship docked at the island.
So tell me, the magic or these strange abilities that we mentioned don't seem to surprise you. Something that's common to you here?
Well, our lore is full of stories of such things, and why, through the ages, we have seen much. I will just say that. But naturally, Jofira, when you speak to her, will be able to broaden your will be able to broaden your understanding of such things. If you perhaps consider that your view may be limited. You're looking at the world. You're looking at the world through too small of a window.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. We are looking at it from one perspective, but what do you mean?
I mean that one perspective is simply too few. You're throwing me off with that laser pointer.
I'll cut it out.
Well, there's a sniper on you, Bew.
Ah!
Nice knowing you, Clippity. So I'm curious. I still have that map on me, I believe, right? Or one of us does. The map we found on the writer.
Which one of you has it?
Is it
We
in
can say
your?
that you have it. It's in my journal.
Okay. I have this map here. You guys have been around for a while and are familiar with different parts of the world than we are. Have you ever seen a landmass that looks like this? Doesn't appear on any of the maps that we've seen.
He looks it over and shows it to Thicket. They look at each other. Kind of go, I don't know. I don't know about it. I've seen maps, but I've never seen this on any of them. Not that it's not well known to me. At least, no, I don't recognize it. Kenwick kind of confirms I've never. Brings nothing to mind.
Okay.
But I would show it to Jofira if you think it's important. Where did you find it?
It was
Why do you
on.
think? Why do you think it's important? It could be that could be the. Could that not be a map of any number of the thousands of tiny, insignificant islands that dot the world?
Well, certainly could be, but it's likely not insignificant. It was taken
Why do you
off the
say that?
body of the leader of the ones that attacked that village and attacked our guild. He had it on them, so I assume it was of some significance. Could be where they're from, where they're going. It's either part of a plan or it's in danger.
Well, it does not seem unreasonable to surmise that, given the circumstances. Show it to Jofira, just in case. I can't say that she knows anything for certain. She's not a cartographer, but show it to her once we get there. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm right and truly tired. And no need to set a watch here. If anything happens, the owlbear will let us know.
This as it's feeding on our flesh.
Kenwick and Thicket laugh. It's feeding on the flesh of anyone who would dare enter its territory except for us.
Why are you safe from it? Or we?
It knows our scent. We've been around this parts. Plenty enough. We've given it food. We've bonded with it. We've developed a relationship of sorts. It sees us not as a threat, but as a welcome presence, or perhaps even something to protect. However, a party of roguish invaders, it would certainly see as a threat, and well, let's just say we would know if they showed up.
Very well.
Yeah, okay.
So you go to sleep beside this idyllic little pond. Even after the fire dies down, the glow of its embers still kind of swirls through the air almost, with all of the bioluminescent life forms about those fey dragons continuing above you, and you all get a long rest, and you wake in the morning to a bright day.